Hey everyone, it's Major Reaction coming at you with my latest figure review. Today we will be taking a look at Animal Warriors of the Kingdom Primal Series Pale figure, made by Spiro Toys. This is coming directly from the Kickstarter back in March of 2021. So these are 2 years in the making, and I gotta say, they look amazing. I am thoroughly impressed. I had a chance to handle them at Legions Con 2022. The figures were not completely finished, and the sonic weld to the upper shoulder area still needed to be completed. So at the time when I saw the figures, they were a little loose, didn't feel all that sturdy, and I was really worried. Fast forward about 6 months, March, finally get these figures in hand. I realized that I only ordered 3 of the figures from the first wave. Big mistake on my part, because I have about 9 figures in wave 2 coming, and I'm a little sad because I only have 3 to play with at the moment. I will definitely have to go to one of the retailers that are stocking them and grab a couple extra figures, because these things blew away my expectations. And I think if you have a chance to get some of these in hand, you too will also feel the same way. So let's take a quick look at the articulation and everything else that these figures come with. These figures have great proportions. They are beautifully designed. A lot of detail. Kind of minimal on the paint apps, but what is there looks great. A lot of room for customizing and doing your own thing. A lot of part swapping capabilities. You can swap with lines like Mythic Legions and other lines that are closer to that 7-inch. These are about 6.5, almost 7-inch figures. I'll show you how they stack up to some of the other figures later. But to me, they just look great. I'm glad I went in on the Kickstarter. Like I said, I'm just mad that I didn't go harder on the first wave. Looking forward to wave 2 when Thane and the others will drop. But so far, Pale and the Chunari Legionary are 2 of my favorite figures, and you'll see why. Just look at the detail here. You can see all the articulation right here in the sculpt. Luckily, it still has really nice detail and proportions, and that doesn't hinder any of the articulation. These are actually really nicely articulated. I would go as far to say as they are on par with Marvel Legends, if not better. Let's take a look here. Do a simple T-pose first. Easy. Looks great. You can even get the arms a little higher than straight 90 degrees. You can get them at a tighter angle when you go above the head. Full rotation on that ball joint. Double jointed elbows. They were a little hard to get. Well, this figure actually came out of the box pretty nice. No issues. Butterfly joint there. Definitely gets more range as you break the figures in. But like I said, these figures did come out. Some of the figures did come out very stiff out of the package, so they told you to heat them up. You got a bicep swivel right there. Works nice. Just be very careful when you're using the bicep swivel that you're not also rotating that upper shoulder joint, because you can easily scratch the paint on these figures. That's one thing I do want to caution you about. You got wrist joint, wrist swivel, double jointed elbows, bicep swivel. Great movement, nothing hindering the upper arm articulation or the lower arm articulation. The armor works really well. Ab crunch forward and back, amazing. One other thing I'd like to point out is that with the Pale head, I've had a very good success being able to get him to a nice forward-looking pose while in the full hunched position. So that's something a lot of figures have an issue doing. These can do it rather well. Gets pretty decent downward movement. The backwards movement is obviously hindered by the hair, but if you move it to the side, you can get a little more movement out of the head. I'm gonna pop the head off, show you guys the ball joints, and got a nice joint there. And then the neck actually swivels and rotates and moves within the body. And just kind of watch out for the sculpts and stuff, because those will tend to kind of get in the way a little bit. So just I think heating these figures up is the best way to go, because it will kind of release the joints and allow full move flexibility in the figure. Head pops right on, nice and easy. You can swap some of the heads. I swapped the Chunari head onto Kali, and it was just a little loose, but it actually works. It stays on. It just kind of wiggles around. So here's that pose I was talking about. Still looking upward while being completely hunched over. Just like a gorilla or a primate or a monkey should be able to. You got a nice ball joint diaphragm there, or at the waist, so you get this nice kind of movement, and you have a waist swivel as well. So real nice movement right there in the ab and waist area. And the armor is all very posable, very pliable, so it doesn't get in the way or hinder the movement. As you can see here, it kind of just moves right out of the way. Full spread on those hip joints. You got a cut right there at the upper thigh that is hidden by the armor. Double jointed knees. There's that thigh swivel I was telling you about. And then you got some really great ankle articulation. So the cool thing about these feet is they have the extra little thumb toe on there that kind of helps when you're balancing the figures. You can get them into some pretty dynamic poses. It has a nice ankle rocker and ankle hinge. The only problem I've been having is when you ankle hinge it forward, that even though that piece of plastic is very pliable, it can kind of very minutely hinder the articulation right there. Also, these are a little pliable, the knee guards. You're gonna need to, like, if the figure comes out fused, you're gonna have to heat it up and be very careful when moving that joint. I'll demonstrate. Here we can show you how easily the armor pieces come off, so how interchangeable they are. Just pop the hands off, gauntlets slide right off. I'm sure if you heat the figure, I don't feel like breaking the figures completely apart yet. I don't have any extras or backups just in case, but I feel like you can basically heat these figures up enough to probably get most of the other armor pieces off as well. Like the skirt piece, you could probably get off with some heat, maybe pull the body apart at the torso. I'm not going to try that yet. Not until I get a second set in hand. I'm not going to try it. Hands plug in nice. Just going to show you guys the knee. So if you do have to heat up the figure, be very mindful of trying to work one joint at a time. Like, move one part of the joint. Be very careful. If you get it too hot, the shin can actually become pliable and wiggle, and if you force it too much, you might possibly break it. So word of caution out there, just be very careful when you first heat up the figures. Try moving each part of the joint individually like I'm showing here. It looks like I'm having a hard time, but I'm just trying to show you what it's going to be like when you do heat them up. Kali was the only one I had to heat up out of the box. He was very stiff, and good thing I did heat him up. Box art, beautiful art. That's one of the main things that drew me to Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. All the concept art was just great. A lot of people have issues with the color palettes, but I think the color palette works great, especially if you use like different settings on your camera. You can actually mute out the colors a little bit, but they still have shine and uniqueness. Here's some size comparisons. Pale next to Mezco Conan and Mezco Blade with that new Booster Barbarian. Here he is next to a Mythic Legions Ogre scale figure. So nice size difference there still. As you can see, the Primal series figures are nice and tall, right up there with your Mythic Legions. Here's a couple Mythic Legions, one female to the right, the Hadriana, and to the left, one of my custom Mythic Legions on a Krampus body. So as you can see, Pale's right there with the big boys. Stands up nice and tall, fits in with most figure lines. Here we'll take a look at him next to a couple other figures. How about a Marvel Legends Daredevil and a Lightning Collection Putty Patrol. So as you can see, he's about a half-inch taller than both these figures. If you count his mohawk, that'd probably put him at closer to an inch, or 3/4 of an inch. Here we have him next to the Goblin King and next to Mephitor. So you can see the difference. You still get a nice size difference between different scale characters. So he fits really well into the Mythic Legions world. I feel like he could fit pretty decently into Marvel Legends. You could have a pack of these guys hunting Kraven, or vice versa, depending on how you want to do it. Let's take a look at all the accessories that Pale comes with. Here's all the different hands. You get 2 pairs of punching hands, 2 pairs of gripping hands for holding his weapons, and 2 pairs of semi-open hands for different relaxed poses. Here's the weapons that he comes with. A nice short sword, a axe, a bigger sized dagger, almost like a machete, and then 2 little kukri type ritual style daggers used for probably dual wielding. So all these fit really nicely into the hands. I know my friend Gil had told me that his Tiberius had a hard time holding a few of the weapons, but Pale seems to be, these weapons seem to have been manufactured just for Pale. So again, great looking figures, tons of detail in the sculpt. You get the fur on the arms and the shoulders, basically fur on the whole sculpt except for, you know, the chest. That's all actually sculpted in there. The armor has nice detailing in it. Beautiful paint. I haven't had an issue with any like over painting or overspray. No issues like that. The only thing is you do have some issues with paint rub if you're not careful when you're articulating the figures, because these are hard, rough figures. They're great figures, and I hope you guys enjoy them as much as I do. As far as I know right now, you can still order the figures from BBTS, HardToFindToys.net, and Spiro Toys themselves. Be quick, because a lot of the sites are already selling out, and they may have limited stock on certain figures. I definitely am going to have to go back and get Atreyu and Tiberius, and probably a couple more Chineri Legionaries, because they are really dope and would look cool in an army. I might also want an extra Kali or Pale, but I don't know, I got a lot coming in Wave 2, so gotta make space for all these things. Till next time, you guys have a great day. Take care.